It was a cold Tuesday evening, and the wind howled outside my study window as I pored over data for my latest research project. The dim light from my desk lamp cast long shadows across the room, and the soft hum of my computer was the only sound breaking the silence. The tension in the house was palpable. Amanda had been unusually distant lately, and her excuses for late nights and weekends away were becoming more frequent and less convincing. As I reached for my cup of coffee, I noticed Amanda's phone lying face down on the edge of the desk. She must have left it there in a hurry. For a moment, I hesitated. It wasn't like me to snoop, but something about the way she'd been acting made me uneasy. I picked up the phone and unlocked it using her fingerprint, a trick I'd learned when she'd left it unattended once before. The screen lit up, revealing a barrage of notifications. I swiped through the messages, each one increasingly casual and affectionate. Then I stumbled upon a thread that stopped me cold. It was between Amanda and Martin, her professor, the man she'd always spoken so highly of. The messages were filled with intimate language, promises of secret meetings, and expressions of love. My heart pounded in my chest as I read through the messages. The dates and times spanned back several months, detailing a relationship I had been completely unaware of. Anger bubbled up inside me, but I forced myself to remain calm. I needed to think clearly if I was going to get through this. I put the phone down and stared at the wall, trying to process the betrayal. Amanda and Martin. It wasn't just an affair, it was an entire relationship built on deceit. I could hardly believe it, but the evidence was right there in black and white. I had to do something, and it had to be calculated. I couldn't let my anger cloud my judgment. I picked up my phone and dialed Mike, a close friend and colleague. He answered on the first ring, his voice a welcome sound of normalcy in the chaos of my mind. "Hey, Mike," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "Can we meet up? I need to talk." "Sure, what's up?" he asked, sounding concerned. "I'll explain when I see you," I replied. "It's about Amanda and Martin." When we met up later that evening at a quiet cafe, I laid out the situation for Mike. He listened intently, his expression shifting from shock to concern. "You've got to be careful, Lucas," he said once I finished. "This could get messy. And remember, this is your life, not just some research project." His words made sense, but I felt a surge of determination. If Amanda and Martin thought they could destroy my marriage without consequences, they had another thing coming. I wasn't just going to walk away from this. I would use my skills, my knowledge, to get my revenge. As I drove home, a plan began to take shape in my mind. I would use my position and expertise to expose Martin's flaws. He'd built his reputation on shaky ground, and I would bring it crashing down. I wasn't sure how it would all unfold, but I knew one thing for certain: I wouldn't be the only one left in ruins. When I got home, Amanda was already asleep. I sat at my desk, staring at the evidence on the phone. The realization of what I had to do sank in. This was going to be my way of getting back at them, and I wouldn't stop until I had exacted my revenge. Tomorrow, I would start by digging into Martin's academic work. If he was going to ruin my life, I was going to make sure he paid for it. The next morning, I woke with a newfound determination. Amanda had left for one of her increasingly frequent appointments before the sun was up. I watched her go, the weight of our unspoken issues hanging heavily in the air. She was unaware that today, my focus was on something entirely different from the usual household chores. I made my way to my study, where I'd already begun collecting and organizing Martin's academic papers the night before. My plan was to scrutinize his work meticulously, searching for any flaws or errors I could exploit. I knew that if I was going to bring him down, I needed irrefutable evidence of his incompetence. Martin's recent publications were a good place to start. I accessed his papers through the university's database, pulling up his most influential research. The more I read, the more glaring the mistakes appeared. There were inconsistencies in his data, misinterpretations of results, and even some outright errors in his methodology. This was more than just a minor oversight, these were fundamental flaws that could discredit his entire career. For hours, I dug through the literature, cross-referencing Martin's work with established theories and data. I highlighted each mistake and noted the discrepancies. As the day wore on, I felt a sense of grim satisfaction with every new error I uncovered. This wasn't just about revenge, it was about exposing the truth. By evening, I had compiled a comprehensive list of Martin's scientific failings. My next step was to draft a series of papers detailing these issues. I wrote with precision, ensuring that my critiques were backed by solid evidence and clear explanations. The aim was not to make it seem like a personal attack but to present it as an objective evaluation of his work. Once my drafts were ready, I reviewed them carefully, making sure they were as thorough and professional as possible. I knew that if I wanted to get them published in reputable journals, they had to be flawless. I also contacted a few colleagues I trusted to review my critiques, ensuring that my arguments were sound and compelling. With everything in place, I sent the articles to several leading scientific journals, each one equipped with detailed evidence and a clear, well-supported argument against Martin's research. I waited, knowing that once they were published, Martin's reputation would be in serious jeopardy. The next few days were excruciating. I kept an eye on academic publications and monitored any reaction to my submissions. I was on edge, wondering how long it would take for the articles to be reviewed and published. Each time I checked my email or academic forums, my heart raced with anticipation. It wasn't long before the first article was accepted for publication. The response from the academic community was swift and intense. Colleagues of Martin's began to question his previous work, and critiques of his research started appearing in online forums and academic circles. The once respected professor was suddenly under a microscope, and his professional credibility was rapidly eroding. As Martin's academic world began to crumble, I watched with a mixture of satisfaction and unease. I had achieved what I set out to do, but the impact on Amanda was just beginning to unfold. She still had no idea of the storm brewing around her lover. And I was left waiting for the right moment to reveal my knowledge to her. The evening came, and as I sat alone in my study, I reflected on the events of the past few days. My plan was progressing, but the sense of triumph was tempered by the reality of what it all meant. I had successfully initiated the destruction of Martin's career, but the true test would come when Amanda confronted the fallout of her choices. For now, I would wait. The pieces were falling into place, and I was determined to see this through to the end. The days that followed were a whirlwind of activity in the academic world. Martin's name was appearing more frequently in discussions, and it wasn't long before the backlash began. His once revered research was under intense scrutiny, and colleagues who had once praised his work now questioned his integrity. I spent my time monitoring the situation closely, keeping track of every new development. It was both exhilarating and unsettling to watch the consequences of my actions unfold. The academic community was buzzing with debates and criticisms, and Martin's reputation was in freefall. Amanda, on the other hand, seemed increasingly agitated. She was on the phone often, her conversations filled with anxious tones and hushed voices. I could only imagine the pressure she was under, trying to support Martin while the world turned against him. I decided it was time to take the next step. One evening, as Amanda and I sat down for dinner, the tension between us was palpable. She was trying to act normal, but I could see through her facade. The once comfortable routine of our evenings had become strained, and I knew it was only a matter of time before the truth came out. "Lucas, have you seen the news about Martin?" Amanda asked, trying to sound casual. Her eyes darted nervously around the room. "I have," I replied, keeping my tone even. "It's quite a mess." She looked relieved that I knew about the situation but seemed hesitant to discuss it further. The conversation shifted to other topics, but I could sense her unease. I needed to confront her, but I wanted to do it in a way that would have the most impact. The next day, I made a decision. I prepared a detailed summary of the fallout from my critiques, how Martin's work was being dismantled and the damage it had caused his career. I printed out copies and left them in a place where Amanda would easily find them. My goal was to force her to confront the situation directly. That evening, after Amanda had returned home, I found her sitting on the couch, staring at the documents I had left out. Her face was pale, and her hands trembled as she flipped through the pages. I watched her for a moment, letting the silence stretch between us. "Lucas," she finally said, her voice barely above a whisper. "I didn't know it would come to this." "I'm not surprised," I said calmly. "It's what happens when you play with other people's lives." Amanda looked up at me, tears welling in her eyes. "I didn't mean for any of this to happen. I never thought it would get so out of hand." Out of hand? I echoed. "You were involved with Martin for months, lying to me and pretending everything was normal." She tried to explain, but her words were drowned out by the weight of the situation. I could see the guilt and fear in her eyes, but it did little to ease the anger I felt. She had betrayed not just me but had also been complicit in ruining someone else's life. "I know you're hurt," she said, "but please understand that I didn't want this to happen." "Understand?" I repeated, feeling a surge of frustration. "You wanted to have your cake and eat it too. And now, you had to face the consequences." As the evening wore on, the conversation became more heated. Amanda tried to defend herself, but the damage was done. She was visibly shaken, realizing the full extent of the mess she had found herself in. Her relationship with Martin was unraveling, and the professional fallout was undeniable. Later that night, as Amanda lay awake beside me, I could hear her muffled sobs. I felt a pang of sympathy but quickly pushed it aside. This was the result of her choices, and the reality of our situation was settling in. In the days that followed, Martin's academic career continued to deteriorate. He was increasingly isolated, and the once prominent scholar was now a cautionary tale in the scientific community. His fall from grace was swift and severe, and it seemed that there was no way back for him. Amanda's relationship with Martin finally ended in a dramatic confrontation. She was left alone, her world crumbling around her. It was a bitter irony. Her affair had not only destroyed our marriage but had also led to Martin's professional ruin. As I watched the fallout unfold, I felt a mix of satisfaction and melancholy. I had achieved my goal, but the personal cost was significant. The wreckage of our lives was now on full display, and I was left to pick up the pieces and move forward. The fallout from Martin's professional collapse had reached a fever pitch. Every day, new headlines emerged, detailing the extent of the damage to his career. Academic forums and news outlets were rife with discussions about his discredited research. The situation was so bad that even the university had issued a formal statement distancing itself from him. Amanda had retreated into herself. She avoided talking about Martin or the scandal, focusing instead on trying to salvage what was left of her life. But the tension between us was undeniable. The betrayal had shattered any remaining trust between us. And our marriage was hanging by a thread. One evening, as we sat in our living room, the silence between us was deafening. I could see Amanda's eyes were red from crying, and her attempts to hold it together were failing. Her attempts to reach out to me seemed forced and insincere. "Lucas, can we talk?" she asked, her voice trembling. I looked at her, weighing whether to continue our conversation or let it be. The anger and betrayal were still fresh, and I wasn't sure if talking would help or just make things worse. "What's left to say, Amanda?" I replied, trying to keep my voice steady. "I know I've made mistakes," she said, her voice breaking. "But I'm asking for a chance to explain, to make things right." I took a deep breath. "Explain what? How you deceived me for months? How you were part of ruining someone else's life?" She looked down, unable to meet my gaze. "I never intended for any of this to happen. It was a mistake, a terrible mistake." Her words were hollow. The damage was done, and no amount of remorse could undo the pain I felt. Yet, part of me wanted to hear her out, to understand if there was anything left to salvage. "Do you really think talking now will change anything?" I asked. "Martin's career is destroyed, and our marriage is in ruins. What more is there to say?" Amanda's eyes filled with tears again. "I'm sorry, Lucas. I know that's not enough, but it's the truth. I was wrong, and I didn't think it would come to this." I stood up, feeling the weight of the conversation. "Sorry isn't enough. I need time to process this. I don't know what our future holds, but right now, I need space." She nodded, tears streaming down her face. "I understand." That night, I slept fitfully, tossing and turning as the reality of my situation settled in. I had achieved my goal of destroying Martin's career, but the personal cost was immense. The marriage I had once cherished was now a shadow of what it used to be, and Amanda's attempts to fix things felt too little, too late. The next morning, I made a decision. I couldn't continue living in this emotional limbo. I needed to take concrete steps to address the fallout and move forward. I began by consulting a lawyer about the possibility of a separation. It was clear that our relationship had reached a breaking point, and I wanted to ensure that any decisions we made were legally sound. The process was emotionally draining, but I knew it was necessary to secure my future. As I went through the legal procedures, Amanda's attempts to reconcile continued, but they were increasingly desperate. She tried to make amends by apologizing repeatedly and suggesting counseling. But the damage was too severe. My trust was irrevocably broken, and rebuilding it seemed impossible. Eventually, the day came when we had to finalize our separation. The legal documents were signed, and the reality of our new circumstances hit hard. Our lives were now on separate paths, and the future was uncertain. In the weeks that followed, I focused on rebuilding my life. I threw myself into my work, finding solace in the familiarity of my research. It wasn't a complete cure for the emotional wounds, but it provided a distraction and a sense of purpose. Amanda moved out of our home and began the difficult process of rebuilding her own life. The once comfortable home was now empty, and the silence that filled it was a stark reminder of how drastically things had changed. As I looked around at the remnants of our life together, I realized that while I had achieved my goal of revenge, the cost had been far greater than I anticipated. The pain and emptiness that lingered were constant reminders of what had been lost. In the end, the only thing left was to move forward, one step at a time. The journey ahead was uncertain, but it was mine to navigate, and I was determined to face it with as much strength and resolve as I could muster. The weeks following the separation were a blur of adjustment and change. My life had settled into a new routine, marked by the absence of Amanda and the remnants of our shattered marriage. The house felt different, emptier, and no amount of rearranging furniture or redecorating could fill the void she had left behind. I threw myself into my work, using it as both a distraction and a way to regain some semblance of normalcy. My research, once a secondary concern, now became my primary focus. It was a way to escape the constant reminders of the past and to build a future that was entirely my own. Amanda and I had limited contact following the separation. Our interactions were strictly logistical, mostly concerning the division of assets and the finalization of legal matters. The conversations were strained and formal, lacking the warmth and familiarity that had once characterized our relationship. One afternoon, I received an unexpected phone call from one of my colleagues, Dr. Harper. She was a senior researcher with a reputation for thoroughness and integrity. Her call caught me off guard, and I wondered what could prompt her to reach out to me. "Lucas, I hope I'm not interrupting," Dr. Harper began. "I've been following the developments regarding Martin's situation and wanted to check in with you. There's something I think you should know." I listened intently as she spoke. "What's going on?" "There's been a lot of discussion about the way his research was handled," she explained. "Some people are questioning whether the criticism was fair or if there were any biases involved. I've heard rumors that there's an ongoing investigation into the validity of the accusations." My stomach churned. "Are you saying there might be a chance Martin could clear his name?" "It's possible, Drive," Harper replied. "I thought you should be aware, given your involvement. There's a lot of pressure on the review committees to address any potential issues fairly." I thanked Dr. Harper for the heads up, my mind racing with thoughts. The idea that Martin might attempt to rehabilitate his reputation was unsettling. It meant that the consequences of my actions were far from settled. Later that evening, as I reviewed the latest updates on Martin's situation, I couldn't shake the feeling of unease. The academic community was in turmoil, and the scrutiny surrounding Martin's case was intensifying. His attempts to fight back were causing ripples, and it seemed the storm was far from over. Amanda, too, was struggling. Despite her efforts to rebuild her life, it was clear that the fallout from the scandal had taken a heavy toll on her. I received occasional updates from mutual friends who mentioned her increasing isolation and the difficulties she faced in finding stability. One day, I received a message from Amanda. It was a simple text asking if we could meet to discuss something important. I was hesitant, but curiosity and a desire for closure pushed me to agree. We met at a quiet cafe, a neutral ground where we could speak without the weight of our former home looming over us. Amanda looked worn and tired, her once vibrant demeanor now overshadowed by the stress of the past few months. "Lucas," she began, her voice strained, "I wanted to talk to you about the situation with Martin and what's happening now." "I'm listening," I said, trying to keep my tone neutral. "I know you've been keeping track of what's going on," she continued. "And I want you to know that I'm aware of how much damage has been done. I'm trying to deal with it, but it's been hard." "I can imagine," I said, feeling a mix of sympathy and frustration. "What do you want to say?" "I'm not here to make excuses," Amanda said, her eyes meeting mine with a sense of resolve. "I just wanted you to know that I regret everything that happened. I'm trying to move on, but it's not easy." We talked for a while longer, discussing the aftermath of the scandal and the difficulties we were both facing. It was a conversation filled with remorse and reflection, but it did little to mend the rift between us. The trust that had been broken could not be easily repaired. As we parted ways, I felt a sense of finality. The chapter of my life that had been consumed by betrayal and revenge was closing, and I was left to navigate the aftermath. The process of healing and moving forward was ongoing, but I was determined to face it with resilience. The future was uncertain, but I was beginning to accept the reality of my new life. The personal and professional upheavals had left their mark, but they had also forged a path toward recovery. As I looked ahead, I resolved to focus on rebuilding and finding a new sense of purpose. The road to recovery was long, but I was prepared to face it. The scars of the past would remain, but they would no longer define my future. The journey was just beginning, and I was ready to embrace whatever came next. Weeks had passed since our last meeting, and life had continued its relentless pace. The academic community remained in turmoil over Martin's scandal, and Amanda's attempts to piece her life back together were ongoing. The sense of finality I had felt from our conversation lingered, but the reality of the situation was becoming increasingly complex. One evening, as I was finishing up some research in my study, my phone rang. It was an unknown number, which immediately put me on edge. I hesitated for a moment before answering. "Hello? Lucas, it's Amanda," came her voice, filled with a mix of anxiety and determination. "I need to talk to you. It's urgent." I was taken aback. Given our recent interactions, I hadn't expected to hear from her again. "What's going on?" I asked. "It's about Martin," she said. "There's been a development, and I think you need to know about it." "Can we meet?" I agreed to meet Amanda at a quiet park near my home. As I drove there, I wondered what new twist awaited us. The thought of Martin trying to reclaim his reputation had been unsettling, but I hadn't anticipated Amanda reaching out with news. When I arrived at the park, I saw Amanda sitting on a bench, looking more anxious than ever. She stood up as I approached, and we exchanged a brief, awkward hug before sitting down. "Lucas, thank you for meeting me," Amanda began, her voice trembling. "I don't know how to say this, but Martin has been trying to clear his name. He's gathering evidence to disprove the claims made against him." I felt a jolt of unease. "What do you mean? Is he really trying to fight back?" "Yes," Amanda said, nodding. "He's been working with some experts to review the criticisms and find any errors in the process. It's not just about saving face. He's trying to prove that there was bias in the way the critique was handled." I was stunned. "How do you know all this?" "Martin contacted me," Amanda admitted. "He's desperate and reached out for support. He wants me to testify on his behalf, claiming that the criticism was unfairly targeted." I took a deep breath, processing the new information. "And what are you going to do?" "I don't know," Amanda said, tears welling in her eyes. "I'm torn. I know how much pain this has caused, but Martin is asking for my help. I need to decide if I should get involved or just let things be." I could see the conflict in Amanda's eyes, and it was clear that she was struggling with her decision. "I understand this is difficult," I said, trying to remain calm. "But think carefully about what's best for everyone involved. If Martin is truly trying to rectify things, it's worth considering whether or not his claims have merit." Amanda nodded, wiping away her tears. "I'll think about it. I just wanted to be honest with you and let you know what's happening." We talked for a while longer, discussing the potential implications of Martin's efforts and the impact on all parties involved. It was a somber conversation, and it was clear that the situation was far from over. As we parted ways, I couldn't shake the feeling of uncertainty. The possibility of Martin clearing his name, combined with Amanda's involvement, added a new layer of complexity to an already turbulent situation. It was a reminder that while I had taken steps to exact revenge, the consequences were far-reaching and unpredictable. Back at home, I wrestled with my thoughts. The situation with Martin and Amanda was evolving, and I needed to decide how to proceed. My initial goal of revenge had been achieved, but now the question was whether to let things run their course or take further action. As I considered my options, I realized that the only thing I could control was my response. I had to stay focused on moving forward, regardless of how the situation with Martin and Amanda developed. The past had left its mark, but it was up to me to navigate the future with as much clarity and resolve as possible. The road ahead was uncertain, but I was determined to face it with resilience. The final confrontation with the fallout from the affair was just another chapter in the story of rebuilding and recovery. Whatever the outcome, I knew that the lessons learned and the strength gained would guide me through the challenges yet to come. The weeks following our conversation at the park were filled with mounting tension. Martin's attempts to clear his name and Amanda's uncertain involvement created a charged atmosphere, and I found myself caught between a sense of vindication and the possibility of further complications. One day, as I was reviewing some research papers in my study, my phone rang again. This time, it was Dr. Harper, the colleague who had previously alerted me to the investigation into Martin's work. Her call was unexpected, but given the circumstances, I knew it might be important. "Lucas, I need to talk to you about something," Dr. Harper said urgently. "It's about Martin's efforts to challenge the critiques against him." "Go ahead," I said, sensing the seriousness in her tone. "I've been following the developments closely." Dr. Harper continued. "Martin is indeed mounting a defense, and he's not alone. He's brought in a team of experts to re-evaluate the critiques, and there are concerns about the impartiality of the original review." I felt a knot form in my stomach. "Are you saying that there's a possibility the critiques could be overturned?" "It's a possibility," Dr. Harper said. "There are some questions about whether the criticisms were entirely fair. If Martin's team can prove that the process was biased or flawed, it could lead to a significant reversal." My mind raced as I processed the information. If Martin succeeded in proving the critiques were unfair, it could potentially restore his reputation and undermine the work I had done. This new development complicated everything, and I needed to act quickly to protect the integrity of my own research and the steps I had taken. "Is there anything I can do to help?" I asked Dr. Harper. "I need to ensure that everything remains transparent and fair." "I appreciate the offer," she said. "Actually, there is something. I've been in touch with a few people who are concerned about the fairness of the process. We're looking into gathering evidence to ensure that the review process remains unbiased. It would help if you could provide any additional information you have regarding the critiques." I agreed to assist and began compiling all relevant documentation related to the critiques and Martin's work. It was a time-consuming task, but it was crucial to ensure that everything was above board. Meanwhile, Amanda had been reaching out to me less frequently, absorbed in her own struggles with Martin's situation. I could sense that she was deeply conflicted and grappling with her decision to support him. Our interactions had become sporadic, marked by an uneasy silence that underscored the complexity of the situation. One evening, as I was preparing dinner, Amanda showed up unexpectedly. She looked worn out, and her expression was a mix of determination and exhaustion. "Lucas, I need to talk to you," she said, her voice firm but weary. "I've made a decision about Martin. I want to be honest with you about what's been going on." We sat down, and Amanda began to explain her involvement in Martin's defense. She had been working with his team to address the criticisms and gather evidence to challenge the claims made against him. Her decision to support Martin stemmed from a sense of guilt and a desire to rectify what she saw as an unfair situation. "I didn't realize how much this would affect everyone involved," Amanda said. "Martin is fighting to clear his name, and I felt I had to stand by him. But I understand if you're angry or disappointed." I took a deep breath, trying to process her words. "I appreciate your honesty. But you need to understand that this situation is incredibly complicated. Martin's efforts to reverse the critiques could undermine the work I've done and create more uncertainty." Amanda nodded, her eyes filled with regret. "I know. I just wanted you to know that I'm trying to do what I believe is right, even if it's difficult." As we talked, I realized that Amanda's actions, while deeply entangled with my own experience, were driven by a sense of responsibility and fairness. The situation was far from black and white, and the lines between right and wrong had become blurred. By the end of our conversation, I felt a renewed sense of purpose. I had to navigate this complex landscape with integrity and clarity. The situation with Martin and Amanda was evolving, and my focus needed to remain on ensuring that everything remained transparent and fair. In the weeks that followed, I continued to collaborate with Dr. Harper and her team, working to maintain the integrity of the review process. Amanda's involvement with Martin's defense added an additional layer of complexity, but it was clear that everyone was trying to find their own path through the aftermath of the scandal. As I looked ahead, I knew that the road to resolution was still long and uncertain. But I was committed to facing it with as much resolve and fairness as I could muster. The unexpected alliances and shifting dynamics were a reminder that even in the midst of turmoil, there was always a chance to seek clarity and justice. The battle over Martin's reputation had reached a critical juncture. The investigation into the critiques and Martin's defense efforts were intensifying, and the stakes were higher than ever. The academic community was abuzz with speculation and debate, and it was clear that the outcome would have far-reaching consequences. I had been working closely with Dr. Harper and her team to ensure that the review process remained fair and unbiased. The documentation I had provided was scrutinized, and the transparency of the process was closely monitored. Despite the complexity of the situation, I was determined to see it through with integrity. One afternoon, as I was sifting through research data in my office, I received an unexpected visit from Amanda. Her demeanor was more resolute than I had seen in weeks. She looked both determined and exhausted, and it was clear that she had been deeply involved in the unfolding events. "Lucas," Amanda said, taking a seat across from me, "I need to update you on Martin's situation. Things are coming to a head, and I think it's important for you to be aware of what's happening." I nodded, setting aside my work. "What's the latest?" "Martin's team has made significant progress," Amanda began. "They've found evidence suggesting that the initial critiques might have been influenced by external pressures and biases. There's a real chance that some of the claims could be overturned." I felt a surge of concern. "Are you saying that Martin might actually succeed in clearing his name?" "It's possible," Amanda said. "The evidence is compelling, and there's a growing movement to reassess the situation. But I wanted you to know that I'm committed to ensuring that the process remains fair. I'm working with Martin's team to address any remaining concerns." The news was both alarming and intriguing. If Martin succeeded in overturning the critiques, it could have a profound impact on the integrity of the review process and the work I had done. But Amanda's commitment to fairness provided a glimmer of hope that the situation might be resolved in a way that was just. "Thank you for keeping me informed," I said. "I appreciate your dedication to ensuring that everything is handled properly. It's crucial that we maintain transparency throughout this process." Amanda nodded, her eyes reflecting a mixture of determination and weariness. "I just wanted to do what's right. I know this has been difficult for everyone, and I hope we can find a resolution that reflects fairness and integrity." As Amanda left, I couldn't shake the feeling that we were approaching a turning point. The situation was reaching a climax, and the outcome was still uncertain. The next few weeks would be critical in determining the final resolution. In the days that followed, the review process continued to unfold. The evidence presented by Martin's team was examined thoroughly, and the academic community awaited the final verdict with bated breath. The debates and discussions were intense, and the stakes had never been higher. I remained vigilant, working alongside Dr. Harper and her team to ensure that the review process remained impartial. The complexities of the situation were daunting, but I was determined to uphold the principles of fairness and transparency. Finally, the day of reckoning arrived. A formal announcement was made regarding the findings of the investigation into Martin's work. The results were mixed. Some of the critiques were upheld, but others were found to have been influenced by bias and external pressures. The announcement was met with a flurry of reactions. Martin's reputation had been partially restored, but the damage had not been completely undone. The situation was a reminder of the intricate nature of academic disputes and the challenges of navigating such complex issues. Amanda and I exchanged a brief but meaningful conversation after the announcement. There was a sense of relief mixed with residual tension, and it was clear that both of us had been profoundly affected by the events of the past months. As the dust settled, I took a moment to reflect on the journey that had brought us to this point. The pursuit of revenge had led to unforeseen consequences, and the quest for justice had revealed the complexities of human interactions and motivations. The path ahead was still uncertain, but there was a newfound sense of clarity. The lessons learned from this experience would guide me as I moved forward. And the focus would be on rebuilding and embracing new opportunities. With the resolution of Martin's case, I could finally begin to close this chapter of my life and look toward the future with a renewed sense of purpose. The road to recovery was still long, but I was ready to face it with resilience and determination, prepared to navigate whatever challenges lay ahead. The resolution of Martin's case brought a tentative calm to my life. The academic community had come to terms with the mixed findings, and the intense scrutiny of the past few months had finally begun to subside. With the situation at least partially resolved, I felt a weight lift off my shoulders. Amanda and I had spoken a few times since the announcement, but our conversations were brief and strained. She was focused on her own path forward, while I was determined to focus on rebuilding my life and moving past the turmoil. One morning, as I sipped my coffee and read through the latest research articles, I received an email that caught my attention. It was from Dr. Harper, and the subject line read, "Opportunity to collaborate." Curious, I opened the email and read through its contents. Dr. Harper had proposed a collaborative research project on a topic related to my work. The project aimed to explore new methodologies and applications in our field, and she believed my expertise would be a valuable addition. The idea of collaborating on a new project was exciting. It represented a fresh start and a chance to channel my energy into something constructive. I decided to meet with Dr. Harper to discuss the details. We arranged to meet at a local cafe, a place known for its quiet atmosphere and excellent coffee. As I arrived, I found Dr. Harper already seated at a table, reviewing some documents. "Lucas, thanks for coming," she greeted me with a warm smile. "I'm excited to discuss the project with you." I took a seat across from her, feeling a renewed sense of optimism. "I'm looking forward to hearing more about it. What's the focus of the research?" Dr. Harper began to outline the project's objectives. It was an ambitious initiative aimed at developing innovative approaches to data analysis and interpretation. The project had the potential to make significant contributions to the field, and Dr. Harper believed it would be a great opportunity for both of us. As we delved into the details, I felt a growing sense of enthusiasm. The project offered a chance to move beyond the recent turmoil and focus on making a positive impact through our work. It was a welcome distraction from the lingering effects of the scandal and a step toward rebuilding my professional reputation. By the end of our meeting, I was convinced that joining the project was the right move. It would allow me to contribute meaningfully to our field and regain a sense of purpose. I agreed to participate, and we began planning the next steps for the research. In the weeks that followed, I immersed myself in the project. The work was challenging but invigorating, and it provided a much-needed outlet for my energy and creativity. Collaborating with Dr. Harper and other researchers was a refreshing change, and the project quickly gained momentum. Amanda, meanwhile, continued to work through her own challenges. I heard from mutual acquaintances that she was making progress in her career and personal life. Though we had limited contact, it was clear that she was determined to move forward and rebuild her life after the upheaval. One day, as I was wrapping up a research meeting, I received a phone call from Amanda. Her voice was more composed than it had been in months. "Lucas, I wanted to thank you for being understanding during all of this," she said. "I know things have been difficult, but I appreciate your willingness to be open and fair throughout the process." I was taken aback by her gratitude. "You're welcome, Amanda. It's been a challenging journey for both of us. I hope you're finding your way through it." "I am," she replied. "It's been tough, but I'm making progress. I wanted to reach out and let you know that I'm grateful for the way we've handled things." Our conversation was brief but sincere. It was a small but significant step toward closure, and it felt like a positive way to acknowledge the changes we had both experienced. As I continued to work on the research project and focus on my career, I felt a renewed sense of purpose. The experience had taught me valuable lessons about resilience, fairness, and the complexities of human relationships. The road to recovery was still ongoing, but I was determined to face it with optimism and resolve. The challenges of the past had shaped me, but they would no longer define my future. I was ready to embrace new opportunities and move forward with confidence. With the research project progressing and a sense of closure regarding the recent events, I felt a renewed sense of hope. The future was still uncertain, but I was prepared to navigate it with resilience and determination. The journey was far from over, but I was ready to face whatever came next, one step at a time. The research project with Dr. Harper was in full swing, and the progress we were making was invigorating. The challenges of the past months were gradually fading into the background as I focused on the exciting work ahead. It felt good to be part of something constructive and impactful, and the collaboration had rekindled my passion for my field. One bright morning, as I was preparing for a presentation on our research progress, I received an email that made me pause. It was from a prestigious academic journal inviting me to submit an article based on our recent work. The invitation was a significant opportunity and a testament to the value of the research we were conducting. Excited by the prospect, I spent the next few days working diligently on the article. The project had yielded some promising results, and it was thrilling to see our hard work come to fruition. The thought of sharing our findings with the academic community was both exhilarating and nerve-wracking. As I finalized the article and prepared to submit it, I couldn't help but reflect on how much had changed over the past year. The turmoil surrounding Martin and Amanda seemed like a distant memory compared to the sense of accomplishment I felt now. The process of moving forward had been challenging, but it had also led me to new opportunities and a renewed sense of purpose. One afternoon, as I was reviewing the final draft of the article, I received a phone call from an unexpected source. It was Dr. Harper, and her voice was filled with excitement. "Lucas, I have great news," she said. "Our research has been selected for presentation at an international conference. It's a huge opportunity for us to showcase our work on a global stage." The news was both thrilling and a little overwhelming. The prospect of presenting at an international conference was an incredible opportunity, but it also meant additional preparation and responsibility. "That's fantastic news," I replied, trying to contain my excitement. "What do we need to do to prepare?" "We'll need to finalize our presentation and make sure we're ready to answer questions from a diverse audience," Dr. Harper explained. "It's a great chance to get feedback and make valuable connections." The weeks leading up to the conference were a whirlwind of activity. We spent countless hours preparing our presentation, rehearsing our delivery, and refining our research findings. The process was intense but rewarding, and it was clear that our hard work was paying off. As the day of the conference approached, I felt a mixture of anticipation and nervousness. The opportunity to present our research on an international platform was a milestone, and I was eager to make the most of it. The conference itself was a grand event, filled with scholars and researchers from around the world. The atmosphere was electric, and it was inspiring to see so many people passionate about advancing knowledge in our field. When it was finally our turn to present, I felt a surge of adrenaline. Standing in front of a large audience, I delivered our findings with confidence, and the response was overwhelmingly positive. The feedback we received was encouraging, and the connections we made with other researchers opened up new possibilities for future collaborations. After the presentation, I took a moment to reflect on the journey that had brought me to this point. The challenges of the past had been daunting, but they had ultimately led me to a place of growth and new opportunities. The experience of presenting at the conference was a testament to the resilience and determination that had guided me through the difficult times. As I wrapped up my time at the conference, I felt a profound sense of accomplishment. The research project had been a success, and it had paved the way for new ventures and possibilities. The future was filled with potential, and I was eager to embrace it with optimism and enthusiasm. Back home, I continued to focus on my work and explore new opportunities. The experience of overcoming adversity and achieving success had strengthened my resolve and provided a renewed sense of direction. I was ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead and to continue building a future defined by resilience, growth, and new horizons. With the conference behind me and the research project moving forward, I felt a sense of closure and excitement for the future. The past had shaped me, but it no longer defined me. The journey was far from over, but I was prepared to navigate it with confidence and a sense of purpose, ready to embrace the opportunities that awaited on the horizon. The buzz of the international conference had faded into a rewarding sense of accomplishment, and the weeks following it were filled with the routine of implementing feedback and planning future research directions. The success of our presentation had opened new doors, and the excitement of potential collaborations kept me energized and focused. One afternoon, as I was organizing my notes and preparing for a new phase of the research project, I received a letter that caught my attention. The letter was from Amanda. The envelope was plain, but the handwriting on the front was unmistakable. With a mix of curiosity and apprehension, I opened the letter. Amanda's words were both heartfelt and introspective, and they provided a window into her thoughts and feelings since we last spoke. "Lucas," the letter began, "I've been reflecting on everything that has happened over the past year. And I felt it was important to reach out and share my thoughts with you." As I read through Amanda's letter, it became clear that she had been grappling with the aftermath of the scandal and the impact it had on all our lives. She wrote about her efforts to support Martin, the personal growth she had experienced, and her ongoing struggle to reconcile her actions with the consequences they had brought. Amanda expressed her regret for the turmoil caused and acknowledged the challenges I had faced. She also spoke about the lessons she had learned and her commitment to moving forward with integrity and purpose. I've come to understand, Amanda wrote, that the decisions we make can have far-reaching effects, and I deeply regret the pain and disruption that my actions caused. I hope that you can find it in yourself to forgive me and that we can both move forward with a sense of closure and peace. The letter was a poignant reminder of the complexity of our experiences. Amanda's reflections offered a sense of closure and a chance to acknowledge the shared journey we had been through. I appreciated her honesty and the effort she had made to reach out. In response, I penned a letter of my own. I acknowledged Amanda's reflections and expressed my gratitude for her willingness to confront the past. I assured her that while the journey had been difficult, it had also been a catalyst for growth and new opportunities. I wished her well in her future endeavors and hoped that she would find the peace and fulfillment she was seeking. As I mailed the letter, I felt a sense of resolution. The act of sharing our reflections and extending forgiveness marked a significant step in moving forward. It was a reminder that even in the aftermath of conflict, there was room for understanding and reconciliation. In the weeks that followed, I continued to focus on the research project and the exciting opportunities it had brought. The collaboration with Dr. Harper and other researchers was thriving, and the potential for future breakthroughs kept me motivated. Life outside of work was also taking on a new rhythm. I began exploring new hobbies and reconnecting with friends and family. The experience of the past year had highlighted the importance of balance and personal well-being, and I was determined to embrace a more holistic approach to life. One evening, as I sat on my porch enjoying the calm of the setting sun, I reflected on the journey I had been through. The challenges had been profound, but they had also led to valuable insights and new beginnings. The road to recovery had been long and winding, but it had ultimately guided me to a place of renewed purpose and resilience. The future remained uncertain, but I faced it with a sense of optimism and a readiness to embrace whatever came next. The lessons learned from the past year had equipped me with the strength and perspective needed to navigate new challenges and opportunities. With a sense of closure and a hopeful outlook, I looked forward to the future. The journey was far from over, but I was prepared to continue forging ahead with determination and an open heart. Ready to embrace the new horizons that lay ahead. With the reflective letters exchanged and the research project advancing smoothly, I felt a sense of closure beginning to settle over the tumultuous events of the past year. The past had shaped me, but it no longer held dominion over my present or future. It was time to embrace the new possibilities that lay ahead. One crisp autumn morning, as I prepared to head into the office, I received an unexpected phone call. It was from an old friend, James, who had recently moved to a different city. He had heard about the research project and wanted to catch up. "Lucas, it's been ages," James's voice crackled with enthusiasm. "I heard about your recent success. How about we meet up and celebrate?" The invitation was both surprising and welcome. I had been so absorbed in my work and the aftermath of recent events that I hadn't had much time to reconnect with friends. I agreed to meet James for dinner and catch up on everything that had happened. We chose a cozy restaurant in the heart of the city, and as soon as I walked in, I saw James waving from a corner table. He looked as lively and cheerful as ever, and his presence was a refreshing change from the intensity of my recent experiences. "Lucas," James exclaimed as we greeted each other with a hearty hug. "It's great to see you. Let's sit and talk." We ordered dinner and settled into a comfortable rhythm of conversation. James was eager to hear about the research project, and I was equally excited to share the details with him. It felt good to recount the highlights of the project and the positive feedback we had received. As we talked, James shared updates about his own life and career. He had been working on some interesting projects and had even taken up a new hobby, photography. His enthusiasm for life was infectious, and it was a reminder of the importance of finding joy and balance outside of work. "You know, Lucas," James said with a thoughtful look, "sometimes life throws curveballs at us, but it's how we respond to them that really matters. You've navigated a tough situation with a lot of grace and resilience." I appreciated his perspective. It's been a challenging year, but it's also been a period of significant growth. I've learned a lot about myself and what's important. As the evening progressed, our conversation shifted to lighter topics and fond memories from the past. It was a refreshing break from the seriousness of recent months, and it felt good to laugh and enjoy the moment. When the check arrived, James insisted on treating. "It's my way of celebrating your success and our friendship," he said with a smile. After dinner, we took a stroll through a nearby park, enjoying the crisp autumn air and the colorful foliage. The conversation flowed easily, and I felt a renewed sense of optimism and clarity. As we said our goodbyes and I headed home, I reflected on the evening with a sense of gratitude. Reconnecting with James had been a valuable reminder of the importance of nurturing personal relationships and finding joy in life's simple pleasures. Back at home, I felt a renewed sense of energy and motivation. The success of the research project and the positive interactions with friends had rekindled my enthusiasm for the future. I was eager to continue exploring new opportunities and embracing the next phase of my life. The following weeks were filled with a blend of productive work, personal growth, and a focus on maintaining a healthy work-life balance. I continued to engage with the research project and explore potential collaborations, while also dedicating time to personal interests and relationships. One day, as I was working on a new research proposal, I received an email from Dr. Harper. She had some exciting news. Our project had received a grant for further research and development. The grant provided an opportunity to expand our work and explore new avenues in our field. The news was a fantastic development and a testament to the impact of our work. It also marked a new chapter in the journey, with fresh challenges and opportunities on the horizon. As I looked ahead, I felt a deep sense of satisfaction and excitement. The past year had been a period of transformation and growth, and I was ready to embrace the future with renewed determination and a positive outlook. The road to recovery had been challenging, but it had led me to a place of renewed purpose and potential. With the support of friends, the success of the research project, and a clear sense of direction, I was prepared to face whatever came next with confidence and enthusiasm. The future was full of possibilities, and I was eager to explore them, knowing that the lessons of the past had equipped me with the strength and perspective needed to navigate new horizons. The grant for our research project was a major milestone, and it provided an exciting opportunity to delve deeper into our work. The influx of resources and support allowed us to expand our research team and explore innovative methodologies that had previously been out of reach. The next few months were a whirlwind of activity. We held several strategy meetings, brainstormed new research questions, and began recruiting additional team members with specialized skills. The energy in the lab was palpable, and it felt invigorating to be part of such a dynamic and forward-thinking project. One day, while reviewing some preliminary data, I received an email from an old colleague, Dr. Emily Carter. She had been following the progress of our research and was interested in collaborating on a related project. Her expertise in a complementary area of study could provide valuable insights and enhance the scope of our work. I scheduled a meeting with Dr. Carter to discuss the potential collaboration. We met at a local cafe, where she shared her ideas and proposed a joint research initiative that could significantly broaden the impact of our work. Her enthusiasm and expertise were impressive, and it was clear that her involvement could take our project to new heights. "This is a fantastic opportunity, Lucas," Dr. Carter said, her eyes gleaming with excitement. "Our combined efforts could yield groundbreaking results and contribute meaningfully to the field." I agreed wholeheartedly, and we outlined the next steps for formalizing our collaboration. The prospect of working with Dr. Carter and integrating her insights into our research was a thrilling development and added a new layer of depth to our project. In addition to the research advancements, I also began exploring new personal interests. The time spent reconnecting with James had reignited my passion for photography, and I decided to take a class to improve my skills. The creative outlet provided a refreshing balance to the intensity of research work and offered a new way to view and appreciate the world. One Saturday morning, I joined a local photography workshop and met a diverse group of enthusiasts and professionals. The experience was both educational and inspiring. As I learned new techniques and experimented with different styles, I found a new sense of fulfillment in capturing moments through the lens. During one of our outings, I met a fellow photographer named Anna, who shared my enthusiasm for exploring different subjects and techniques. We quickly became friends, and our shared passion for photography led to frequent collaborations and outings. Her perspective and creativity were a breath of fresh air, and our friendship enriched both my personal and creative life. As the year drew to a close, I took some time to reflect on the incredible journey I had been on. The research project was thriving, with exciting new collaborations and breakthroughs on the horizon. My personal life was also flourishing, with renewed connections, new interests, and a sense of balance that I had been striving for. One evening, as I sat in my favorite spot in the park, reviewing some of the photographs I had taken, I felt a deep sense of gratitude and contentment. The challenges of the past year had ultimately led to a series of positive changes and new beginnings. The lessons learned and the growth experienced had paved the way for a fulfilling and optimistic future. Amanda's presence in my life had faded, but the closure we had reached provided a sense of peace. The experience had taught me the value of resilience and the importance of focusing on the positive aspects of life. I was ready to embrace whatever came next with an open heart and a renewed sense of purpose. The new year brought with it a sense of excitement and possibility. The research project was set to continue with the new collaborations, and I looked forward to exploring further opportunities in both my professional and personal life. The path ahead was filled with potential, and I was eager to navigate it with optimism and enthusiasm. With each new day, I felt more confident and prepared to face the future. The journey had been challenging, but it had also been transformative, leading to a renewed sense of purpose and a bright outlook on the horizon. As I looked forward to the new year, I was ready to embrace the adventures and opportunities that awaited, knowing that the best was yet to come. As the new year began, I felt a sense of renewed energy and purpose. The research project with Dr. Carter and the expanded team was in full swing, and the progress we were making was promising. The collaborative effort had brought fresh perspectives and innovative approaches, and the impact of our work was beginning to be recognized within the academic community. One morning, as I reviewed the latest findings, I received an email that added a new dimension to my professional life. It was from a prominent research institute, inviting me to join a panel of experts for a series of seminars on advancements in our field. The opportunity to share our research and engage with other leading professionals was both exciting and a testament to the impact of our work. I accepted the invitation and began preparing for the seminars. The process of compiling our research into a comprehensive presentation was both challenging and rewarding. It was a chance to showcase the results of our hard work and to contribute to ongoing discussions in the field. In the midst of preparing for the seminars, I also continued to nurture my personal interests. My passion for photography had grown, and I began to explore opportunities to showcase my work. I organized a small exhibition at a local gallery, featuring some of my favorite photographs from the past year. The exhibition was a success, drawing a diverse crowd of art enthusiasts and fellow photographers. It was fulfilling to see my work displayed and to receive positive feedback from others. The experience reinforced the importance of pursuing creative passions and finding joy in personal achievements. During the exhibition, I reconnected with Anna, who had become a close friend and collaborator. We discussed future projects and ideas for exploring new themes in photography. Her enthusiasm and creativity were inspiring, and our collaboration promised to yield exciting new work. As the seminars approached, I felt a mix of excitement and nerves. The opportunity to present our research to a distinguished audience was a significant milestone, and I was eager to make the most of it. The preparation and practice had been intense, but I felt ready to share our findings and engage in meaningful discussions. The day of the seminars arrived, and the event was held at a prestigious conference center. The atmosphere was charged with anticipation as experts from around the world gathered to share their insights and research. It was an honor to be part of such a distinguished group. When it was finally my turn to present, I took a deep breath and stepped onto the stage. As I spoke about our research and the collaborative efforts that had brought us to this point, I felt a sense of accomplishment and pride. The audience's response was positive, and the discussions that followed were engaging and thought-provoking. The seminars provided valuable feedback and new perspectives, and I was grateful for the opportunity to contribute to the ongoing discourse in our field. The experience also opened doors to new collaborations and potential projects, further expanding the scope of our work. After the seminars, I took some time to relax and reflect on the journey that had brought me to this point. The challenges of the past year had been transformative, leading to new opportunities and a renewed sense of purpose. The successful presentation and the positive reception of our research were a testament to the resilience and dedication that had guided me through the difficulties. As I looked ahead, I felt a deep sense of fulfillment and optimism. The research project continued to thrive, and my personal interests and relationships were flourishing. The future was filled with potential, and I was eager to embrace the new possibilities that awaited. The journey had been one of growth and discovery, and it had taught me the importance of perseverance. The research project was moving forward with great momentum, and our collaboration with Dr. Carter had yielded impressive results. Our findings had not only advanced our understanding of the field but had also paved the way for further research and development. One sunny morning, as I was preparing for a team meeting, I received an email from the conference committee where I had recently presented. It was an invitation to contribute a guest article to a leading journal, detailing the breakthroughs and insights from our research. The recognition was both validating and exciting, and I eagerly accepted the opportunity. The process of writing the article was both demanding and rewarding. It required distilling our complex findings into a clear and compelling narrative. With the support of Dr. Carter and the team, I was able to produce an article that captured the essence of our work and its implications for the field. As the article was published and began to receive attention, I felt a profound sense of accomplishment. The acknowledgement from peers and the positive feedback were gratifying, and it underscored the impact of our research. It was a testament to the hard work and dedication that had gone into the project and the collaborative spirit that had driven it forward. Meanwhile, my personal life continued to flourish. The photography projects with Anna were progressing well, and we were planning a joint exhibition to showcase our work. The creative process had been immensely fulfilling, and it was exciting to see our shared vision come to life. One evening, as I was preparing for the exhibition, I received a phone call from Amanda. Her voice was calm and measured, and she spoke with a sense of closure and reflection. "Lucas," she began, "I wanted to reach out and let you know that I've been doing a lot of thinking. I've moved forward in my own way and am working on new projects that are meaningful to me." Amanda's tone was sincere, and her words reflected a genuine effort to reconcile with the past. We spoke briefly about our lives and the paths we had taken since our last encounter. It was clear that both of us had moved on, finding new directions and opportunities. "It's good to hear that you're doing well," I said. "I'm glad that we've both found ways to grow and move forward." After our conversation, I felt a renewed sense of closure and peace. The journey of the past year had been challenging, but it had ultimately led to personal growth and new beginnings. The ability to reconnect with Amanda and acknowledge our progress was a significant step in moving forward. The joint photography exhibition with Anna was a success, drawing a crowd of art enthusiasts and supporters. The experience of sharing our work and receiving positive feedback was immensely gratifying. It was a reminder of the importance of pursuing creative passions and celebrating achievements, both big and small. As spring progressed, I continued to focus on both my professional and personal pursuits. The research project was thriving, and the positive reception of our article opened new doors for future collaborations and research opportunities. My photography continued to be a source of joy and creative expression, and the balance between work and personal interests enriched my life. One afternoon, as I sat in my favorite park, reflecting on the journey I had been through, I felt a deep sense of gratitude and contentment. The experiences of the past year had shaped me, and the challenges had ultimately led to new opportunities and growth. The future was bright, filled with potential and promise. With a renewed sense of purpose and a positive outlook, I was ready to embrace whatever came next. The journey had come full circle, and I was prepared to continue forging ahead with confidence, knowing that the best was yet to come. With the success of the research project and the photography exhibition, life had taken on a satisfying rhythm. The balance between professional achievements and personal passions created a sense of harmony and fulfillment that had been missing for a while. As summer approached, it felt like the perfect time to reflect on the journey and set new goals for the future. One bright afternoon, as I was enjoying a quiet moment in the park, I received an unexpected phone call from an old friend, Mark. We had lost touch over the years, and I was pleasantly surprised to hear from him. "Lucas," Mark's voice was warm and enthusiastic. "It's been forever. I heard about your recent successes and wanted to catch up." We arranged to meet for coffee at a quaint cafe in the city. Mark had always been a great friend, and I looked forward to reconnecting and catching up on each other's lives. When we met, Mark was his usual lively self. Over coffee, we talked about the years that had passed, our careers, and personal milestones. It was refreshing to reconnect and share stories about our lives. "I've been keeping an eye on your research and photography," Mark said with a grin. You've been busy. It's great to see you thriving. We chatted about our respective journeys, and Mark shared some exciting news of his own. He had recently started a nonprofit organization focused on supporting young artists and entrepreneurs. His passion for helping others and making a difference was inspiring. I'm actually planning a fundraising event for the nonprofit, Mark said. It would be fantastic if you could contribute some of your photographs for the auction. It would mean a lot to me and the cause. The idea resonated with me. Contributing to a meaningful cause while showcasing my work was a wonderful opportunity. I agreed to participate and began preparing a selection of photographs for the auction. As the fundraising event approached, I worked closely with Mark and his team to ensure everything was in place. The event was held at a beautiful venue, and the atmosphere was vibrant and filled with a sense of community and purpose. The evening of the event was a success. My photographs were well received, and the auction raised significant funds for the nonprofit. It was gratifying to see my work contribute to such a worthy cause and to support Mark's efforts in making a positive impact. During the event, I had the chance to meet many inspiring individuals who were passionate about supporting young artists and entrepreneurs. The connections and conversations were enriching, and it was clear that the work Mark and his team were doing was making a difference. As the summer continued, I continued to focus on both my research and photography. The balance between these pursuits was fulfilling, and I felt a renewed sense of purpose and direction. The opportunities and experiences of the past year had shaped my outlook on life, and I was eager to continue exploring new avenues and embracing future possibilities. One day, as I was reviewing some new research proposals, I received an email from Dr. Carter. She had been working on a new project related to our previous research and wanted to discuss potential collaborations and future directions. The prospect of exploring new research avenues was exciting, and I looked forward to the discussions and opportunities that lay ahead. With each passing day, I felt a deep sense of contentment and readiness for the future. The experiences of the past year had been transformative, and the journey had led to new beginnings and opportunities. As I looked ahead, I was filled with optimism and anticipation for the adventures and challenges that awaited. The path forward was filled with potential, and I was prepared to navigate it with confidence and enthusiasm. The journey had come full circle, and I was eager to embrace the future with an open heart and a sense of excitement. The best was yet to come, and I was ready to face it with a renewed sense of purpose and joy. The summer sun bathed the city in a warm glow, signaling the arrival of new opportunities and adventures. The successful fundraising event, ongoing research, and thriving photography projects had set a positive tone for the months ahead. As I settled into this new chapter of my life, I felt a deep sense of satisfaction and readiness to explore new horizons. One morning, while reviewing the latest research updates and planning the next steps for our project, I received an invitation that caught my attention. The prestigious Global Research Summit was scheduled to take place in a few months, and I had been invited to present our recent findings and innovations. The summit promised to be a significant event, gathering leading experts and researchers from around the world. I eagerly accepted the invitation and began preparing for the presentation. The process of organizing and refining our research into a compelling narrative was both challenging and exhilarating. It was an opportunity to showcase the impact of our work on a global stage and to engage with other experts in meaningful discussions. In parallel with the preparation for the summit, I continued to work on my photography projects. The joint exhibition with Anna had sparked new creative ideas, and we began planning a series of themed photo essays exploring different aspects of urban life. The collaboration was both inspiring and fulfilling, and it was exciting to see our shared vision come to life. As the day of the Global Research Summit approached, I felt a mix of excitement and anticipation. The event was being held in an impressive conference center, and the atmosphere was charged with enthusiasm and intellectual curiosity. It was an honor to be part of such a distinguished gathering. The presentation went smoothly, and the positive feedback from the audience was encouraging. Engaging in discussions with other researchers and experts provided valuable insights and opened doors to potential collaborations and new research avenues. It was a rewarding experience that reaffirmed the significance of our work and the impact it could have on the field. After the summit, I took some time to explore the city where the event was held. The vibrant cultural scene and diverse experiences provided a refreshing break from the intensity of the conference. I visited museums, attended local art shows, and enjoyed the city's culinary delights. The time spent immersing myself in the local culture was both relaxing and inspiring. Back home, I continued to focus on the ongoing research and photography projects. The feedback and connections made at the summit led to new opportunities for collaboration and exploration. The excitement of working on new research initiatives and creative projects kept me engaged and motivated. One evening, as I reviewed some new photography prints and reflected on the journey of the past year, I felt a profound sense of gratitude and accomplishment. The challenges and transformations had led to new beginnings and opportunities, and the future was filled with promise. The balance between research and photography provided a fulfilling and dynamic blend of professional and personal pursuits. The path ahead was filled with potential, and I was eager to forge ahead with a renewed sense of enthusiasm and purpose. The best was yet to come, and I was ready to embrace it with an open heart and a positive outlook.